so.
Yeah. Joel Fleischman Happy Hour podcast, episode 167. Welcome, Dave Decker, to the podcast.
Cheers. Prost.
Cheers.
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 Hydration first. There we
Cheers.
go.
Cheers. Prost.
Thank you. Coming all the way from Brookfield today. Really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being here.
Thrilled to be here.
We got a lot to dive into, but first, of course, we want to touch on who you are, your bio, your background, and you kind of hold a lot of different roles and titles: author, entrepreneur, and real estate. Might I say guru? Right?
Yeah,
You've,
mogul.
been in this game, mogul. There we go. Yeah. So this started, I think, 40 years ago for you.
Yes.
Your passion for real estate. How did that start?
My dad had some properties when I was a kid growing up, and just working with my dad was such a rewarding experience. I always knew I wanted to be a landlord. I just wasn't quite sure how to get there. Okay. So, but working for my dad was great. It was where I got the bug.
Okay.
Even before I was, even old enough to drive. I don't even remember. I was young teenager.
Uh-huh.
And so I bought my first property when I was a year out of school, when I was 23. So that's where we get 40 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
And just kind of kept going. And somewhere along the way, started building and continued to acquire existing, built some units, and then here we are.
Wow.
Well, and speaking of here we are.
Yeah.
And you shared that before the podcast.
Yeah.
Where are we on the real estate mogul journey?
Yes.
How many units do you have? How many properties?
I manage about 2,000 units. I own about 1,200 units. So there's 45 sites. So
Amazing.
Yeah.
So my dad is actually a landlord as well.
Like to think about that's a community.
Oh yeah.
I'd say that's a small town. I live in this little small town in Campbellsport. I think it's 2,500 people.
Yeah, so I think there's about 4,000 people that live in those apartments.
Yeah, so
wow.
Dave helps twice as many people that live here. So you really do help, in your way, a large community. You have a large outreach.
Yeah.
I really love what we're doing. I think it's it's very rewarding.
Why is it okay? So for people that are you can say it pretty blankly, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a let's say a static environment or a stale environment, obtuse. I just watched Shawshank Redemption, and the guy they called the guy obtuse, and he got 1 month in the cell for saying that. So I had to use the word obtuse today, I guess. So bluntly, right? You're a landlord. Tell me a landlord, where's the reward of being a landlord?
Oh man, we provide housing for people.
Mm-hmm.
So there's I have 2,000 houses, so to speak, but this is people's homes.
Yep.
This is where they're making memories. This is where they're raising their children. This is their home. And
so you feel a responsibility to them?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Growing up, my dad, and he still to this day, has rental property as well in the Fond du Lac area, and I painted all the rooms, all the turnovers, this and that, and I remember looking back, I don't think I fully appreciated it at that time, because I was like, Dad, I don't know if this is for me, but truly when you look at that perspective, right, and you are providing people with a home, with the roof over their head, I wish I would have looked back and been all right, this is actually really important,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So talk us through the road to being an author and where you kind of saw that need, because your first book came out is in the 2000s, the cash in on the
right 2006
real estate.
yeah. Well, when I graduated from school, I took a job with a large corporation, and real estate was actually going recessionary at the time. There were some changes in the tax laws that were coming, and nobody in real estate was hiring. In 1986, 1985,
which
1986.
is when so Campbellsport Building Supply started, which my dad started in 1985.
Yeah.
So again, and we've talked about it a little bit before. Mm-hmm. As we get older, there's less and less people in the industry that remember that. Interest rates were 18%. Anything you did was on a credit card, if you can think of it that way. It's basically, my dad started the company on a credit card interest at 18%. An entire county might pull, not Milwaukee County, but in Fond du Lac County, I want to say that they pulled less than 10 building permits the entire year.
Wow.
It went to zero, right? It was the Great Recession.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So but also that's also when great opportunities started.
Yeah.
So how did your opportunities start up?
Well, I had gone to work, like I said, for this large corporation. You know, I couldn't get into real estate like I wanted to. But I arrived in, so I'm an Indiana native. I wind up in Wisconsin. I cleared the library out of every single book they had. I mean, literally out of every book they had. I was living in Waukesha County. I cleared out the library of every title in Waukesha, the Waukesha Public Library system, of every book that they had. And when I ran out of those, it's like you can buy a Milwaukee County library card. I started going through those books too, and somewhere along the way I said, you know what, I could write one of these crazy books. You know, I've read so many of them, I could write one.
Are you still an avid reader?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think there's just so much to be gained by reading and absorbing other ideas from others. It's just such an opportunity. But
history never dies through books.
No. So I was reading all these books, and you know, obviously I did get started, and I had an idea for a book rattling around in my head for 20 years before I pulled the trigger. And but in 2004, 2005, things were just getting crazy in the real estate market. You have to understand, for most of my career, if I had an idea about a real estate property, I would go around and get rejected by every bank in town. I mean, nobody wants to make me a loan. And all of a sudden, the bankers are coming to my office, pitching deals to me, and they're telling, to give you an example, I had a small 18-unit building in Watertown, Wisconsin. It was a little small town. And banker says, hey, you could sell those units to your tenants. They'd be paying less than rent to buy this. I said, okay, listen, I know that interest rates are low, but how is that even possible? And he said, hey, we've got a program here. Basically, the payment was so low that you didn't even meet the interest obligation. So forget about paying any principal. You're not meeting the interest obligation. So the balance is actually growing with time. And I told the banker, I said, you're burying these people in a deal. I mean, this is going to get away from them, and they're going to tip over, and you're going to get all these back. They're done. And he says to me, what do you care, Dave? You're out of it. I think but you're writing loans that are going to default. But then I thought, no, wait a minute. He's going to sell those loans on the secondary market to Freddie and Fannie. The government's going to get left holding the bag. And my conservative banker friends have turned into these wild-eyed, used car salesmen.
05 at the peak.
Yes.
So right before the bubble busted in 08, for those of, like Jules not in the industry.
Correct.
That if you don't know the timeline, that's how it was. The money was so easy. If you could just sign your name to something that was attached to real estate, the projection of the return on investment was wild, right? And every book I read, every publication I read in 05, this is going to the moon. This is like, we're just getting started, boys and girls, right? If you have 5,000 units, you'll have 30,000 by 2010. Like every graph was off the chart.
Right. And it's in the front pages of the newspaper. When the real estate industry is on the front pages of the paper, something is wrong. It's usually obscure. It doesn't even make the paper at all.
I will say we're not a sexy industry, right?
No.
We're very stable.
It's so true.
We don't have Elon Musk. We don't have a Jeff Bezos.
We have no business being on the front pages. It's just not like that. And
Very
when
true.
it's there, something is wrong.
Absolutely. Wow.
So, I did write a book called Catch It in the Coming Real Estate Crash. I related some of those stories that came out.
And that year was when?
That was January of 2006, about a crash that took place in 2008. So,
wow.
Yes, I'm bragging.
Yes.
Like that. Yes, I'm bragging.
Put it down.
It's like, okay, how many people listen to you?
Yeah.
And what steps did you take, or in a current? This is a good advice for people currently. That crazy enough, Dave. We have enough people in the industry, in our company, that weren't in the industry in 2008.
Sure.
Which is already 15 years. We have not seen it. So we have a lot of people that have been here a decade in our company, or as a builder, which is quite a long time, and has never seen a downturn.
Right.
So what advice could you give them right now for those conservative, hey, make sure you don't do this?
You know what, for me, you always have to be careful in any market.
Yeah.
I've been a buyer for real estate when the markets were up, when the markets were down. I've always been a buyer. I think there's always opportunity. Sometimes it gets a little harder, and you always have to be careful. You always do your own research. You cannot listen to all the static noise of what's going on in the press, and you can't. You just can't buy because I had stockbrokers, buying real estate. It was just so crazy. So you can't get on a bandwagon. You have to.
I said we had spec home builders that were a priest. It was like an old joke: priest, lawyer, and a bartender.
Yeah.
Like they'd walk in like, yeah, we're doing 4 specs next year, and we're like, you doing this full time? No, I'm a priest, and I'm a lawyer. I'm a barber, and you're like, okay, right, here we go.
Well, and you know what? Whenever you're investing, remember, whatever field that you're in, there's always somebody in there like you, like myself. Who, we're doing this because we think it's fun, and so we're completely absorbed in it. We're completely getting granular with it. And you're showing up thinking it's going to be a fast buck. Well, you have to compete against people like Joel or people like me. We love what we're doing, so we're paying attention to every nuance and detail. So really, you're really getting in the ring with something. Not because I'm particularly so smart, but I am paying close attention.
Yeah.
Well, also I think it seems like you're a guy that can detach from emotion. Real estate, I've said for a very long time, is always emotional. No matter how many years you do it, no matter how much it looks like an investment, there's an emotional buy-in. And my dad says an analogy, and some people get a little offended by it. I think it's actually a spot-on analogy if you take out like the sexual connotations. Never be too pregnant to abort a good deal. Right? You can never be so emotionally attached that you're vested.
That's
right?
true.
And there is, and to be honest, there is a point in the deal where the signature isn't written that they got you.
Yes.
And that's the scariest part. But that happens to me with vendor relationships, with business partnerships, with cell phone. I just did a cell phone deal, so with Verizon and T-Mobile. Where I'm too pregnant to abort. I like what they're doing. I like what they're saying. I'm going to buy it no matter what. They don't know that yet, but in my head, it's a done deal. And at that point, they kind of got me. Oh, it's that cute little building. It's an 8-unit, 7-year return on investment, but I bet we can do it in 5 if we do it right. It's an emerging market. And you just start getting all excited. And you have that, what do they call it, sunken cost. Sunken cost. So many businesses and projects have failed in life. Probably relationships. I'm talking, I dated this girl all through high school, I dated this all through college, Joel. Sunken cost of time.
Yes.
So I gotta marry her.
Yeah. Ouch.
Oh man, I mean, ouch, right? But also in business, also in deals. I've worked with Verizon for 3 months. We've been grinding on this deal. I asked for this and they came back and they said they couldn't do it, but I got all these hours into it. Or at our work, sacred cows, right?
Yes,
we've always done it this way. I can't kill it now. Even though I know in my heart. And real estate's very, very much sunken cost. Right? I visited the site 4 times. I paid an architect. I mean, you've been through all that, I'm sure, Dave, right? So I think you can't be scared to walk away from not a great deal.
When you start building, you get you are financially invested. The engineering, the architectural costs, you get a lot of costs where you feel like there's no point of return. The only thing worse than giving up what you already invested is to continue with a bad investment. I mean, it really takes a lot of guts to back out of some of those deals.
And then double down. Right, I got $1 million in, I might as well put another $1 million in. It's like, ooh boy. And we've done that in businesses and new startups, and probably will continue to do that, but trying to get smarter every time we do it.
Right. Absolutely.
Oof.
Hey? Talk us through the process of actually writing too. We've had a lot of authors on the podcast. Like, how was that for you? The whole writing process. Where's your zone that you go?
It completely works with my shy, introverted personality. I just love sitting in a room, closing everything off, just sit there, create. That works that just works with my shy, introverted personality.
Let's just focus on that. I want to get away from the book. Right, we got to make sure we go back to that. At least finish your thought on the book style. How you write. Shy, introverted personality. How do you write the book? You're typing. You're in a hammock. You're handwriting it. You're using a.
It's a matter of that. You see the solutions. You see what's coming. It's like, and it's so obvious. For example, when I'm writing Cash in on the Coming Real Estate Crisis, I'm having experiences that are extraordinary. Like I said, when the bankers started coming to me, there was a 9-year supply of condominiums to be absorbed in Miami. It's like, does this make sense? Does anyone not see this? So you see things so clearly, and it's like nobody else gets it.
Has it been easy for you to put your emotions and your words in the print, or has it come pretty quick?
It's really pretty quick.
For you, it's
really
quick.
pretty quick.
That's awesome. You have a passionate talent.
You can tell. You get all fired up.
I feel like I would be stuck on page 3.
Get the writer's block.
The writer's block. That's what I was.
I'm writing op-eds. I've had, I get about 1 a month. With the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel.
Awesome.
Is
you just shared one with me. So our relationship's been interesting. So I've known of Decker Properties for. How long have you been buying from Clint? 20 years?
Oh my goodness,
So since Clint's working by us, I've known this name, Decker Properties. And sometimes, again, how the industry works, Dave doesn't always buy the materials from us, but he is making the decision and hiring the firm to do the work.
Yes.
Right, so it might be built through a different company, but it's Decker Properties, right? Which is always a little interesting in our company, right? Because it's like, okay, it's shuffling through them, but it's really through Dave. But so he's been a great customer. I've never met you until very recently.
Yeah.
Knew of the name, right? He's at the top of our charts, the Decker Properties. Clint would tell me great stories about you, but our relationship has been very short term. We had a huge problem on a job site, made 400 doors totally wrong, embarrassing wrong, awful. I don't know how they ever left the shop. I'll never know. People lost their job over it. Unfortunately, just had to happen. It was kind of last straw. And since then, it was really the last straw. We improved quality tremendously. Dave was on site, said these are absolutely unacceptable. Kind of scared everybody that Dave was on site, like these aren't going to work. Which again, these are people's homes.
Yes.
And then we got a little bit of relationship going off of that, I believe, right? I mean, that's how you remember it.
But you're bringing that up, and I didn't want to bring it up because it's a painful experience for Drexel, but it's so important because
I think it's a book. It's part of our story. It's part of life. Mistakes are going to happen.
You know what it is? You know what? None of us are perfect. We're all going to make mistakes. So what's interesting is not that we made a mistake, but what's going to happen afterwards?
Yes.
Are we going to own that? Are we going to own that? Are we going to take responsibility for that? Are we just going to cover it up or try to look the other way?
And in our industry, it's easier to cover it up, especially in multifamily. Like you said, there's a lot of jewels on site, young jewels on site.
Yep.
It's good enough. It's a freaking apartment, right? There's a lot of people that get to an apartment mentality, right? And to me, it's still somebody's home.
Yes.
It's still Dave Decker. His quality is just as good and just as fair. And to me, quality assurance, the quality of a multifamily house to me is the same as a 20,000 square foot house. There should be no difference.
No.
A good door is a good door. Craftsmanship is craftsmanship, period.
And we were touring the building, and we were really trying to say, okay, you know what, this door we can, you know, the defect is on the inside of the closet door, so we can live with that one. And so we're going through and we're saying, well, we can live with this one, we can live with that one. And really it was Drexel that just stepped up and said, you know what, this thing doesn't meet with our standards. And so we're just, 400 doors. I mean, oh my goodness. I wouldn't feel comfortable asking for that. So I so appreciate you that you're stepping up and taking responsibility and saying, hey, you know what, that doesn't meet with our quality standards. And we are incredibly fussy. I still go around, unfortunately, I'm not very mechanically inclined.
Same.
But I can pull weeds, I can pick up litter,
do that
pet
for
waste,
you.
all that stuff. So I'm always doing that, and I'm usually doing it, certainly in front of our own associates, but in front of our tenants too. So people are seeing that I care.
Yeah.
If I'm picking up the stuff,
Yep.
you can't be exempted from picking up
What
the
you
stuff.
tolerate, you endorse.
Exactly.
So if you walk by it because you're too busy, or it's not my job, or, I gotta
Or
yell
it's
at
beneath
somebody.
you. That's the thing
Yes.
that troubles me.
It's a
It's
big
beneath
one.
you.
It's a big
You know what?
one. It's a big
We
But that also
rise.
is endorsing it. Then you yell. Then an hour later, you yell at somebody not pick up the trash. It's like, well,
Yeah.
I was just with you. You didn't pick it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a very thing. And that's a good bridge.
Yeah.
Your book, How to Go to the Super Bowl. Part of our early relationship and why I really appreciate Dave. Out of the blue, Clint just puts that book on my desk with a handwritten note from Dave.
Shout out to Clint.
Shout out to Clint, for sure. I'm an avid reader. I have an English degree. I went through that book, I think, in 3 nights. Loved it from the step he had me. It's about the Packers. But there's a Christian element to that.
Yeah.
And you kind of said beneath me, right? What did Jesus do in his last week? He washed the
washed their
apostles'
feet.
feet.
Yeah.
He washed
Washed their
Judas's
feet.
feet. Come on. Who does? That's the example that we try to set. 2 things. I think it's important to know. You called yourself shy and introvert, and I think most entrepreneurs think you have to be Joel. Kite flying, fast talking, uber extrovert Joel. Dave, how did you convince yourself you didn't have to be that guy, or you always just felt you could do it? It seems like you always had a quiet confidence, maybe.
I mean, I never sat down and think about it. Well, does this fit with my personality?
Yeah.
No,
Sure.
I just knew I
just
wanted
did
to be
it.
a landlord by any means that
You
were
were just
necessary.
the Holy Spirit just drove you that way.
You know what? When I got started, how do you break into the real estate industry? It's very difficult, and it's really different for everyone. But the route I went was I became a real estate agent, and so I'm cold calling people.
So you have the opposite stereotype of what you would think the stereotype is, right?
Right. So I'm
Opposite
cold.
personality of the
I'm
Yeah.
cold calling,
Yeah.
dozens, I had an objective to call 20 people a night, 20, and this is back in the days when you've got landlines and the white pages and you can look somebody up and you can call them at night and they're going to answer the phone. It's just it's almost feels like it's like from another planet.
Sure.
But I'm calling 20 people,
Yes,
like 20 strangers.
Getting a book in the mail with every single person's phone number seems very odd in this day and age. Yeah.
But I would call these, I'd call 20 people a night and talk to them. But I'm talking to them about one of my favorite topics.
Yes.
So now it's it's a different matter. If you want to talk about real estate or you want to talk about faith, well, now I come out of my shell a little bit because if we're going to have a party and we're just going to get together and have small talk, it's like I'll be a wallflower there. I'm just I don't function well in those kinds of environments. But if you want to talk about real estate, you want to talk about faith, well, now you're in my wheelhouse. So boy, stick a sock in me because it's going to get ugly.
That's awesome. So a little bit, it's finding your passion. And within your passion, you're not an introvert.
Right.
So all the Christian values that you put in your book, and you must live by that because you really go for it in the book. How does that help? How is your Christian values and faith help you run a successful business?
Well, we had to start from understanding that Christianity is not something that we're going to do for an hour on Sunday, right? It's going to be something that permeates our being and touches everything that we touch, and it's going to be part of everything that we do.
And I never brought faith into the workplace, but then I realized at some point in my life, again, why would Jesus wants to be everywhere where you are, and why did society make that weird? Don't bring that into work.
Right.
Don't bring. School. I'm not going to go down to the public path. You can talk about that, but we'll say private sector. If you believe, it's okay. I don't know why that has to be like, oh, don't bring that up at work. It might offend somebody. Like offend who?
Well, I feel that too because there is that. I don't want to force something on. I want it to be authentic. So if if you're encouraged by faith, I want to be an encouragement to you. If you're I met plenty of people in my life that had a negative experience in their church or in their circumstances, and they're like this. We can still work together. We can be friends. I don't want to force something on you that you're not ready for. But I do, and so we're trying to find that balance. What's worked for me is that I was involved in door-to-door evangelism for 12 years. So again, you talk about something completely foreign to my nature. But again, if it's a matter of faith or a matter of business or real estate, I can come out of my shell. So I was involved in door-to-door evangelism for 12 years, where I'm trying to knock on the door. And when I say door-to-door, it started out the church gives you 4 visits to go on, and these people wouldn't be home or they wouldn't be receptive. And you spend a lot of time driving around and not much time talking to people. So well, that's a waste of time. So here's what we're going to do: we just take one visit. We either had a good visit or we don't. Then I go to the house next door. Hey, I was just here to talk to your neighbor, the Joneses, and they weren't home or they whatever it was, and your house was lit up so nice. I thought you must be expecting me, so let's talk. So I did that for 12 years, and so I understand that not everybody is ready for that. But I have a burden that people know that Jesus is your Savior. People are striving. Say, I want to go to heaven, but what do I have to do? How good do I have to be? How much money do I have to give? How many good deeds do I have to do? Which religious rituals do I have to engage? It's like, for by grace are you saved through faith, and not of yourselves. That is a gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast. So it's a free gift from God. You can stop striving now because you had God from hello. He loves you so much that He counted the hairs on your head. He knew you before He formed you in the womb. He took that early interest in you, that early, deep, and intense interest in you. You had God from hello. So heaven is a free gift. I want people to know that. So once a year at Christmas time, when we're handing out Christmas bonuses, I do a gospel letter so that everybody hears, referencing some scripture. I'll cue off of, that was Ephesians 2:8-9 that I just shared with you. John 3:16 is another one, a great verse to key off of. It
was just in the gospel yesterday. So if you're a Catholic, the gospel message yesterday was 3:16. So
I'll share that with people once a year. And as it comes up, as there are opportunities, but I'm really, I want to be careful that no matter where you are in the faith spectrum, and the Lord has blessed us. We have quite a number of believers that are very, what would you call it? They're very out there with their faith. But at the same time, we have some people that are very quiet. That it's just not something either they're comfortable talking about, or maybe they're worried that they're going to offend me. I just don't know.
And one of my favorite quotes in a work environment is from St. Francis of Assisi. Preach the gospel, use words if necessary. It doesn't have to be it can be about the Bible and the words, but preach the gospel, use words if necessary. You can just do it by example at work. Right? That's all God wants from you. But just live the truth, live it purposeful, right?
Yeah.
The number one reason why people don't share their faith more, because you were talking about living it out.
Yeah.
So the number one reason why people don't share their faith more is the apparent hypocrisy that there would be from sharing this message about Christ and look at my lifestyle. So living it out, you can't talk one way and live another way.
Right.
Or even, we're all sinners.
Yeah.
So I preach it. I'm by no means a good man, right? Like I am a bigger sinner you're going to meet. So that you can work both. Like who am I to say anything? It's like no, you're supposed to.
Right.
And it's okay. We're all just regular Joe Schmoes, as I like to say. So. Good talk.
For
Good
sure.
Talk, yeah.
Well, and too, I read, you speak a lot on ethical leadership too. Ethics is one of our core values. What does that mean, to you and when you are, working within the business? How does that go?
I think a good lesson or a good idea to keep in mind is God first, others second, you last. If you put yourself last, you'll finish first. It can't become something, I'm following this as a business strategy because I want to make my quarter's numbers. And you really have to be sincere about that. But if you think about that, it's pretty rare that people have a genuine concern for other people. Most people are just transparently in it for themselves. So when you show up and you have a genuine concern for others,
especially in property management, because they might not know the renter's name, they might not ever been on site.
Yeah.
And they don't know that the storm door is broken, it's driving them nuts, or a leaky faucet that literally keeps them up at night, or the shower has so little pressure they can never properly wash their hair. If it's about the money and it's an investment, they won't have that connection.
Right. You just have to, I think as a business strategy, one of the things I did is that, I gave my business over to the Lord. And I feel like I just work here. And I'm trying to be a good steward or a good shepherd of what the Lord has put me in charge of. And honestly,
Colossians 3:24, is that right? Work for the Lord and not for man. You must know that one.
Yes.
I think that's right. I don't know. I'm not much of a Bible quoter,
check.
That seems right. Somewhere around that vein.
But that also again works with my personality. It keeps me from getting lazy. I think on my own, I would get lazy. It might be good enough. But you know what? If I'm going to stand and give an account to God for this, well, then we need to stand up a little straighter and make sure that this one's got all four corners and it's done right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, how to go to the Super Bowl? You can find that on your website.
On my website, wherever books are sold, online, Amazon, all that stuff. So, very easy to find.
This is your most popular book?
Most recent?
It's my most recent, so we're waiting to find out.
Okay,
The other two sold, they did fine. I think that this is a title that has a broader interest, so I'm optimistic that it'll be the best one.
What's your next book? What's your teaser?
The Goliath solution. The Goliath solution. Big problems, big solutions.
Okay.
So,
oh, wow.
All right.
Wow.
Yeah. My son, I have two boys, and we just watched the David movie, so they are all...
That's out now?
Yes,
okay,
yeah.
That's new, right?
Yeah,
new.
yeah. And
what did you think of it?
I thought it was very well done. They're all into the... all the songs, all the what's that?
Slingshots.
Yeah. And it's just then they're learning it in school too, so it's just like full circle, It was really well done.
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
that's very cool.
For sure.
That's very cool.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Dave, what would be? I think we're getting close to our Billboard message here. Certainly, you've done this through your work and your daily life. But what does your Billboard message say? You get a billboard, and it can be anything. What do you want to share with the world?
Ah, boy, you know what? I think if you are passionate about what you do, at the intersection, success is found at the intersection of passion, expertise, talent, and training. And if that is your, will, then that's where you can go. There really are no limits.
Say that one more
intersection
time. Really
of passion.
At the your success is found at the intersection of passion, talent, training, and experience.
Wow.
And with those, because I think people...
We say that a lot at Drexel, not exactly in that terms, but that's
people are passionate about the passionate side of that, right? Well, you can be passionate but incompetent. You don't have the experience. You say, boy, I'm really thrilled about this, but you really need to have the talent and the experience and the training, or you're just going to run yourself right off a cliff.
Yeah, and we relate a lot to that, and a lot of the development that we do, and things that Drexel has done run in the past.
Absolutely.
We used to hire people and just say, be athletic, which just meant just do it, right? And you got to have a certain trait, which meant you got to have the talent for it and the passion for it. But we really thought about it, and I coached a lot of youth basketball, and I've shared on the podcast before. And I love sharing exactly what you had in regards to basketball or sports, because it's so relatable, right? I coached a tremendous amount of kids that had a lot of passion for the game. A guy named Brody, last year I coached. little munchkin, foot shorter than everybody else. But he was the first one at practice wore Giannis socks.
Oh.
Tried so hard,
Mm-hmm.
but when he threw the ball to him, he couldn't even clap his hands.
Okay.
Slowest guy in the team. He fell down constantly, trying so hard, but God didn't give him any athletic direction. Right? So he was missing talent. No matter how, and I think sometimes it's like Santa Claus. We maybe shouldn't tell our kids that they can do anything that you want if you try hard enough, because that's not really true.
That's not really true.
Right? I mean, it's not. You can do anything that God wants you to do, and you can do the best of ability of your talents that God gave you. Is probably the best way to say it.
Yes.
That's how far you can make it. But I could have never made it to the NBA. There's no way. I could have practiced until my hands fell off.
Right.
Not tall enough, strong enough. And neither could have Brody. And then I coached kids that were extremely talented. A guy named Ben Butler, shout out to Ben. Almost could dunk a basketball in 8th grade. He kind of just willed the ball in. But there was a minute left. I don't think he could care at all if we lost that game. Ben, where are you at? You know?
Yeah.
And again, I used to really blame those kids. He just didn't have he wasn't, just like Brody wasn't born with talent, he wasn't born with the passion. So you can't say, Ben, be Brody. Brody, be Ben. And I think so many coaches and husbands and wives and parents and co-workers force that. You have to have passion. And if you don't, that's totally okay.
Yeah.
But if you have both, I just don't think there's a better way to sleep at night in peace, and a responsibility of me as a CEO with 850 people is to give them the development. Because if you love I had a few kids that loved basketball and were really talented at it, right? And if I can give them some good coaching, not for me even, outside coaching, sometimes me, sometimes outside coaching, I can see them so at peace. And you know what? Me as a coach, easy. All some parents are going, wow, you are one heck of a coach. I do nothing different with Brody or Ben than I did these 3 other knuckleheads that have passion and talent. When they have passion and talent, they listen. And I know a lot of times, just like at work, these little kids, I would show them a drill, and they would do it better than I showed them. They'd be like, coach, like that? I'd be like, well, that was really good. I didn't even tell you to do it that way. And I see that at work too. If you have a passion and talent, give them a reasonably amount of development, give them a little bit of a long leash. Hey, Jules, how'd that project go? And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Look at you. I would have never thought of taking it that angle.
For sure.
So passion meets talent is the intersection of training,
talent, passion. Did I miss a 4th one, I feel like?
And experience.
and experience. And it does take time.
Yes, it does.
And sometimes life, and again, just like in basketball, it takes time. And time, I would say, and even experience is almost an illusion, it takes discipline. The motivation's going to go away. Motivation, I always say, is like deodorant. You put it on every day and then it wears off. Getting beyond motivation to make it disciplined training. You're an avid reader. You're a disciplined avid reader to keep making yourself better. In any industry, in any trade, you can always have that discipline to make yourself better, which goes with experience. But if you only have experience, I don't think that helps much. The discipline to get improved through training and experience.
So here's the challenge for each of us as parents, as employers, as mentors, is that every person has a certain degree of gifting, and probably even a great degree of gifting. So it is up to
God never made one single mistake. So
so there's tremendous gifting there. There is a diamond somewhere in there.
Absolutely.
And so it is incumbent upon us to engage in a quest of discovery. Really, it's a journey of discovery to find out where is that person's talent. So if they're floundering, it's not because they're stupid. You know, we can't ask a fish to try to climb a tree.
Yeah.
So we need to find the role where they fit.
Right, and Drexel does have we have Supply Happiness, great place to work. Everyone says, kind of, right? I hope, but beyond that, I think it is. But beyond that, we do have a pretty high turnover ratio because we don't know if you're going to fit. Right? And I say sometimes it's like a puzzle that doesn't. It's a puzzle piece that doesn't quite fit the puzzle. And the closer it is to fitting, the more you force it. And guess what? The edges get ruffled, and that piece almost breaks or can break.
It can.
Yeah, it can, right? So I think sometimes we're so close to putting, oh, she's such a good person. She's so much like Drexel. She loves Drexel. They're so good at certain things, but they're letting somebody down somewhere else. And we just have to do our job as an employer and say, you know what? Or we can find a spot else in a company, but sometimes you just got to go somewhere else.
The company culture, though, is so vital. You'll find that the soldier in the foxhole Why is he fighting? Why is he fighting at risk of his death? Why doesn't he just run away? It's not about God and country. It's not about the girl back home or something like that. It is a unit cohesion. It's the one next to me in the foxhole. That's who he's fighting for.
Correct, right.
So if that breaks down, if the relationship breaks down, that's when that soldier will cut and run. So the culture, the unit cohesion, if you will. I've never been in the military,
Right.
but the unit cohesion, and that is what has to be guarded like gold.
And that's a little bit of teaser coming out with their top workplace results, and there's always something that drives me because there's always the things to improve off of our results, and that means our team took a survey and said, hey, how was my job? And the thing that we realize is a problem through our growth and through the years, great strong culture, let's call that the country, but the foxhole, the interdependent communication of our supply chain internally with vertical integration, estimating, design, sales, we have field service team. That's kind of starting to be like a lot of industries, and we're going to address it, and it won't be very long, of silos, microculture within cultures, and that interdependence breaks down, right? I've told this team 10 times, you got to get better, and they didn't. So then the worst case in a culture is you just give up. Like a soldier, I can't rely on anybody.
Right.
I'm a lone wolf. I work here, not work here. I make my own rules, and I just got to do it because I've said so many times to these departments, you guys got to improve, and they don't. And that's when you're in a difficult spot. And I feel we're going to come up with something really, really unique to fix that. It's coming up in 2 weeks, so excited for that.
Yeah.
All right, well.
Dave, right out of the Victory Playbook, thank you so much for sharing all of this. We really appreciate your time. Go check them out, davidjdecker.com.
I
all
highly
your books are
recommend
on
it.
there.
5 stars.
Yes.
Go review.
Really
Wonderful
appreciate
book.
it.
Please go buy them.
Yeah.
And go get meet David if you have a chance to live in one of his properties.
Yes.
I am sure they're wonderful. Thank you for the business. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, God bless you in your journey. Yeah. All right. Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Thank you, Joel.
Peace and love.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Appreciate
Thanks for
it.
tuning in as always.